What is up, New World Fantasy Football? Back here with my main man, Chief. And we got something fun. We got a series coming up. We're workshopping the name, but for right now, we're calling it the Post-Mortem of every team. And we're going to be starting off with a fun one that you love to hate in fantasy, one that their owner is probably going to get pissed when he sees this video, Mr. David Tepper with the Carolina Panthers. Paul, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. Welcome to where we put the fantasy season to bed. We are firmly in the off season now. I guess we're doing like an informal vibe check. We always vibe check at the beginning of the videos, but my vibes are very much in the fantasy football vacation mode. You know, everything has a season for me. Right now I'm in balls deep basically in basketball. So, you know, I try to, like, even though this is a football show, like my mindset is very much off season, different season, but don't you worry, girls. August comes around, I'll be locked in. But
can't wait for that.
I'm feeling good, man. I'm ready to get into Carolina and Atlanta, your favorite fantasy football destination.
So we're going to be doing Atlanta. Spoiler alert, will be the second one we do. But I did some research on them already, and that'll be fun as well. So quick aside, NBA.
I just realized what I did. That's why I'm laughing.
It's all good. I know. The show must go on. What is your favorite thing to see when it comes to basketball? Like on the court, not necessarily a player.
You're saying like a play or something that happens?
What are you like most impressed by when it comes to basketball?
That's a really good question. You know, I think the easy like bailout answer, like a sweet dunk is always pretty cool, but like that's not the thing that I'm most impressed by. When somebody gets faked out of their ass, that's my favorite. Like a really sick ball fake that like will make somebody like way overextend or fall down, like, or like, you know, like the ankle breaker type of thing. Like probably with the elite and amazing athletes that are always on the court at all times, like watching somebody absolutely fold and crumble under a fake and look stupid is the most relatable that I can be to an NBA player. So that's my favorite. Somebody gets faked out of their ass.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite thing to see, and you know, there's a certain archetype that I like. Maybe it's because I fancied myself a point guard in my days of playing basketball, but just when somebody can just drive and dish like so well, where it looks like they
pass right in the pocket.
Yeah, when it seems like they just got eyes in the back of their head and they just can like feel the game. That to me, like that's why I loved my favorite player of all time is, you know, John Stockton. I always loved some Rajon Rondo, some Chris Paul, some Steve Nash, of course, because you know, I just feel like that is how basketball is supposed to be played, you know. And it's awesome.
Your favorite player is really John Stockton?
Yeah.
Has it always been John Stockton?
I'd say when I was growing up, it was Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. It was pretty much those two, which is pretty standard. But yeah, John, as I got older, like, and just I have a fetish, so to speak, for like underappreciated players. I just do. And I feel like, how is John Stockton underappreciated? Like, doesn't he still lead the league in most points, or not points, most assists and steals?
Most assists and steals, which is,
and like nobody talks about him.
It's the point guard's job, right, to pass the ball and steal the ball. So like he's, from that measure, the greatest point guard ever. Like I think it was the steady longevity of his career forever. Like I don't think that he ever had one of those crazy blow up seasons where he was like an MVP candidate or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously,
he played with Jordan.
He's a regular looking white dude that's built like a substitute teacher. So like that's, you know, that kind of gets to be like a mark against him too. And but he was incredible, man. For that long of a time to just be in the NBA at that size and doing what he was doing, like one of the most impressive careers of all time. So I latched on to that because I was actually impressed. There's probably not a ton of people that would have had that be their favorite player, but I like it. You want to talk about football yet?
I do. And we're going to start talking about the lowly, sad, poorly led Carolina Panthers. So you took the lead on taking notes on this. So why don't you talk to me about, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let me talk about my raw emotional feelings of the Carolina Panthers, and then you can put it in perspective with some numbers.
I have a feeling that the numbers are going to back up what you think, but I think that's a great idea. I just
feel like the Carolina Panthers are so devoid of true talent on offense, mixed with a quarterback that was lost and became pretty scared out there. Like he didn't feel comfortable throughout the entire season, and it really showed. And they just feel lost. Like you sign a guy to, it's not a ton of money, but for the running backs in this offseason, it was $6 million a year for Mr. Miles Sanders, who's got no more miles left on him. He's kind of quick Sanders right now, just sinking down. Chuba Hubbard felt like he was more productive, especially towards the end of the season. And always, that's one of my my guys I like, who's underappreciated, I feel. But and it really is sad. It feels a lot like the Trevor Lawrence rookie season, where first round pick, mega stud coming out, more of a hyped prospect than even Bryce Young, but they have the 101 in common. And
he was a disaster.
He was on a crappy team with a crappy leadership system in place and couldn't break out of it. So that's my initial feelings on it. You can put that into context or say how you feel.
Well, that's crazy because I think they were great. No, obviously they sucked. And, I did do a little bit of a dive into the numbers, and shocker, the numbers also indicate that they suck. But just for fun, let's dive in. They scored a measly 13.9 points per game, which was good for 31st. I'm actually amazed that it wasn't 32nd.
Oh, let me try to guess 32. Hold on. That's like 32. Who could 32 have been? Do you even know? Because you didn't look it up, did you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But
okay.
I can only
the Patriots?
imagine.
Patriots?
Look it up.
We'll look it up later.
The Patriots or sleeper pick. Maybe the Chargers.
Go ahead. I'm going to look that up real quick.
Yeah. So so obviously they were trash on offense. They weren't that great on defense either, but I think that probably had a little more to do with injuries than it did with the actual talent type of thing. They were dead last in yards per game, so there you go. And obviously the Bryce Young experiment was not off to a great start. We know what's bad. He's a little shrimpy guy. Yeah. And, that was something that people talked about with him coming in, and it really hasn't changed very much. I mean, he was basically at the bottom or near the bottom of pretty much every statistical category for a starter. True passer rating, EPA. I can go on and on.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. And that's an interesting comp that you gave to Bryce, kind of having him in the same conversation as Trevor's disaster of a rookie year, which I agree with, but
so were you done? I know you weren't done.
I was not. Did you see me get completely interrupted by a phone call?
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you will laugh, I think, when you hear they are not the Carolina Panthers are technically 31st because they are dead tied with the Patriots. So they're really, they're tied for last.
Both those teams are booty base, and I got completely wrecked on an interruption, but I just think we saw it more from Trevor. I think we saw the eye test moments a little bit more. We saw some flashes. I just don't know if I really ever saw that from Bryce. But at least my personal feeling on him is that I'm going to give somebody at least 1 year rookie pass at the quarterback position, fair or not, because we've cooked a couple wide receivers this year, I think, based on how bad they looked in their rookie years. But just the organization and the talent around him is so piss poor that I think that I'm willing to at least put that question mark on sucks. Like, Bryce Young sucks, question mark. Because I think he deserves at least one more year, but it's been ugly, man. It has not been great.
I will say this about Bryce Young. The perceived strengths he had coming in felt like they just completely disappeared because his talking points were about his precision and his anticipation and like his poise.
See none of that.
And he didn't see any of it. But like, I am a true believer of weapons around a quarterback matter a lot. And when their best weapon is Adam Thielen, who's been a good player for a long time, but he's not someone that's going to truly boost an offense. He's a good role player in an offense, and he was forced for pretty much the first half of the season to do it all. You just saw and Bryce Young, he's just his timing was piss poor. His anticipation, his poise, it just felt like he did all the things that like a backup quarterback does, where they just, if they're not able to play in structure, a lot of them typically just kind of fall on their face. And that didn't seem to work out anytime the play broke down, it seemed like Bryce Young just was like, oh shit, and get sacked.
He bailed on so many plays too. And dude, it's all like, I mean, I have notes here on like the entire ecosystem just completely breaking down around him. I don't even know where to start because we touched on so many things, but
I already started talking about Thielen, so we might as well talk about
we can talk about the receivers because there is not one single Carolina pass catcher that averaged more than 3.2 yards of separation. Not a single one.
That's awful.
Adam Thielen had 2.9. Hayden Hurst was actually in the lead at that 3.2. And their first round pick or near first round pick, I don't remember, but Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, he ended up being a second rounder. 2.1 yards per or separation.
That is his average separation, 2.1. That's nothing.
Yeah,
that's
so like
a tenth of a second.
When like what's like the median mark for that is like getting close to 4. I'm pretty sure.
But it doesn't take much to move the needle on that number. I would imagine, just when you're like windows are so tight in the NFL. Like
no, it doesn't. Like that would be really good.
Between 4 and 3 is pretty wide, I think.
Yeah. I think it's tremendous. But
you saw it on the field. Nobody was open.
And that was kind of the thing too, was I think Carolina went into the season like, okay, just pretty much putting a stamp on Bryce Young is a stud, period. He can do Patrick Mahomes things and elevate these receivers. So the only player they went after it was, besides the draft and free agency, was Adam Thielen. And then Mingo was not a polished prospect coming out.
That's
and that
what
was
bothered me the most about that pick.
Yeah. So it was like, you could have there was other names available that were more polished. Probably would have helped him more. Now, yeah, you don't draft a guy just for their rookie year. You're drafting them for their first 4 or 5 years. First rounders, 5 years with that option, that 5th year option, if you decide to do it. But like, it was all around just terrible. To me, this was a note that I put on the bottom. I'm just gonna say it now. I think Terrace Marshall is just a full-on bust at this point.
Ooh,
I don't
early bust
because he's not gonna.
bust call.
The thing is, Carolina is they know they have to bring in another talent at wide receiver, and he's going to get pushed down the depth chart right away and not going to have much opportunity. And there's many avenues to becoming a bust in the NFL, and that's one of them. Just not getting the opportunity to
Well, if you can't
do
beat out
anything else.
Jonathan Mingo, you probably don't deserve it.
Exactly. But then there are certain environments that lead to you having more of a chance to develop. That's getting really far off topic, but keeping it in Carolina land. Do you want to talk about the O-line? Because you did some research on them.
Yeah, I mean, there's really only like a couple points on the O-line that are even worth talking about. Like, because they suck. We saw they sucked. It was very easy to suss out in the very limited Carolina Panthers games that I watched. There's only 3 of their individual linemen that are worth talking about. Taylor Moton was okay. He only really like directly allowed a sack. PFF graded him a 74, which I know like people are probably listening to this.
It's with
like,
the grain
PFF,
of salt.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You do have to take it with a grain of salt, but I generally care more about PFF's grades on non-skill position players than I care more on specifically skill position players, because I just feel like they play a higher percentage of their own snaps if they matter like that. And then, it's just kind of easier to see wins and losses from that regard. But that's a side point. I thought he was the only guy that was okay. Brad Bozeman fucking sucked. 8 sacks, 62 on PFF. And their top pick before Bryce Young from 2 years ago, guess what, Andrew? He sucks too. He let up 11 sacks with 12 penalties. Generational.
My God.
Yeah.
And Giants
Not
fans
great.
thinks Evan Neal is bad.
I mean, does that make you feel better about Neal?
No, but I won't go down that painful hole.
Ikem Idwandu, and I hope I didn't butcher that name, but
Ikem Ikwanu.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll learn how to pronounce your name if you get better. And we talked about it earlier, dude. The running backs weren't great either. Obviously, Miles Sanders was a complete shell of himself. I mean, 3.3 a carry, dude. Like, no, I just don't think he's gonna. I just don't think he's gonna get off the mat from this one. I think he's just gonna fade out. And Chuba outplayed him. He still was sub 4 himself. But again, if the O line is shitty too, well, then how do you evaluate like the running back core? So it's so bad.
When a defense isn't scared of the receivers, it makes playing run defense way easier. And
they're not scared of the quarterback either.
Exactly. They're just not scared of the passing game in general. I thought
Tampa punched their ticket to the playoffs, literally playing keep away.
9-0.
I know that they use this phrase in soccer. I think this is the first time in a long time that I feel like it applied to football. They parked the bus. They parked the bus on Carolina. It just was like, we're not going to score. We don't care. We're just going to play field position war and
don't
keep
turn
you
the ball
goose.
over. Don't turn the ball over and just have a long enough drive to, chew 5 or 6 minutes off the clock and we'll be good. But yeah, I felt like down the stretch, Chuba was a little bit better. He gave the team a little bit of life, but I mean, we're talking about like still you can barely feel that heartbeat coming out of that offense. And I think that, they've got one of the worst problems you can have in pro sports, an extremely just impatient and abrasive owner that is not going to let his chefs that he hired be in control of the kitchen. And to me, that is such a frustrating spot to be in as a team, but as a fan base, because you're just like, you hired this
Where's
guy.
the hope? Where's the hope? I don't like this. Feels like the Commanders, like for all these years, like there's no real hope.
Yeah, you just feel like, and Giants fans, and I reference them a lot because I'm so invested in them, but are frustrated with John Mara because the rumors has been that he has tinkered with the dudes that he loves, holding on to Eli Manning too long, being in love with Daniel Jones, things like that. How true are those things? I don't know. But even if that's a rumor, your fan base is going to feel extremely demoralized because they feel like there's no way to escape the owner unless he's gets in major legal trouble and has to force to sell the team.
That is absolutely the worst position to be in sports, because again, like if your coach sucks, bye. If players sucked, okay, you can trade them, you can draft new players, whatever. But a terrible owner, and you know, I'm a fan of some teams. Their ownership, you know, it's like a little column A, little column B. I don't really know about them, whatever. But like, I'm not going to be a fan of a team with just a complete jackass of an owner. If the owner's fucked up, then I can't just keep getting on that same wheel over and over and over again, expecting something different, because the guy writing the checks is toxic from the top down. You can't have that.
I'm glad Jim Irsay is a class act.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, he's a fucking pillhead, but he actually does care about the team and mostly treats his players fairly. His dad was a fucking piece of work. Like, if I was 30 years older and I had to be a fan of the Colts, I wouldn't be a fan of the Colts. The Baltimore Colts under John Irsay, he was a dickhead.
Yeah.
Jim just likes to party, and he likes to fire off tweets. You can work with that. You can work with that a little bit.
As long as he's not trying to be messing up with Gordon Ramsay's recipes, just like let the guys you hired to be the coaches and the GM, like let them do their friggin' job and let it, like, be patient with the team, because it's very difficult to have a turnaround like in a season. You see teams do it, but a lot of times it's not really true. It's just,
it only happens when you draft CJ Stroud.
yeah. I think a lot of people would say the Lions, but the Lions built over the course of like 3 seasons, and it just feels like
they had a few drafts that they nailed.
Yeah, they had some good drafts, and it's everybody, you know, I've heard that expression. Everybody is a 10-year overnight success, because it feels like, oh, they're successful now. How'd they do that? Oh, they got lucky overnight. No, they've been building. So enough philosophy. Let's talk about the future, meaning next year. Is there anybody on this team you are willing to take a shot and draft?
Currently on this team, no. And I'm just going to simplify that answer super quick. Like, I mean, could I see myself to a Chuba, you know, late enough in the draft, maybe if he falls as like a volume play? Okay, maybe. I don't know. But there's nobody that I'm targeting.
Yeah.
If they get a receiver that I like in the second round or whatever, because they don't have a first round pick, so the savior ain't coming. Yeah, I gotta see it, man.
Yeah.
I just don't see the upshot.
Yeah, I think the best shot for somebody to truly be relevant in fantasy beyond being like a streamer is if they draft a running back early. Second round is pretty early for a running back. Maybe, because I put this note down there
Depends on the
too.
running back too. Like, there's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
like
it does.
obvious slam dunk guys this year. It seems
Like
like.
if they take Trey Benson, for example, he gets down and they just decide, let's do this. I can see Carolina next season. If I am Canales, I would self-scout my team and say, my offense is really struggling with talent. I think I can get something out of Bryce, but if we're going to compete, we need to build in the trenches and be a ground and pound team, keep games close as best as we can. Because I don't think their defense is that bad, but they looked really bad because their offense just could not stay on the field. They looked worse than they are. They're going to look worse in the metrics because I would like to go see. I actually should look this up, what the time of possession for the Panthers was on average.
Oh, dude. I mean, you can look it up if you want, but you know what your eyes told you. I mean, they were the 3-and-out king pretty much.
Yeah.
It's basically between them and the Patriots, and I think that if they have an immediate need, it's all of it, right? All of it's bad, but they got to do something on the O line because you can't have just Bryce continuing to be shell shocked back there.
Yeah.
Like you have to give him. Okay, whatever. Like they need receivers too. Like, fuck it. Like, but you just have to protect your quarterback as best as you possibly can. And Canales did a pretty good job, I thought, getting the most out of an offensive line that was, pretty suspect going into this year. So I think there's a chance there that they can make some improvements in that regard. But I feel bad for Dave, man. He should not have taken this job. Like, I get why he took it. I get why he felt the pressure. It's a head coaching job after 1 year of being an OC. Like, I understand that you feel like, okay, I'm getting the chance. I got to take the chance, but this is not the chance. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. Love you. I think you did a great job in Tampa, but you're setting yourself up to be fired within the next 2 seasons. I just don't see.
Yeah, it unfortunately does feel that way. For fantasy purposes, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And this is part of the disadvantage of doing this so early. But if we're going to get to all these teams, we kind of had to start doing it.
Well, and we had to start somewhere. And this team that doesn't have a great fantasy outlook or much of a way to change it is probably the best one to start.
Yeah. So I don't know if they have just talking redraft here. I don't know if they have a player that anyone's taking above like the 7th round. Maybe even that's too rich.
Chuba, I think in running back hungry leagues, I think Chuba will go. I think Chuba will go in like the mid rounds. But again, I'm not. It's not exciting.
But are you drafting?
You know what it is?
Are you drafting a guy who you feel's even going to get the more of the workload, or are you just going to be in a timeshare? It feels like right now we'll see. There's a lot of time for these rosters to change, but it feels like right now it's going to be Miles and Chuba. And that just kind of doesn't work for anybody on an inefficient offense that doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, and it's not like Chuba is all that great of a pass catcher either, where he can kind of elevate his fantasy output by catching 3 or 4 passes a game, that just
all right, fine. Miles is still going to be there. He's got an $8.5 million dead cap.
Yeah.
Number.
Right.
Yeah, no, so pass, bro. Pass. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to talk about Carolina anymore. Carolina is sad, and they just. I'm sorry. If there is a Carolina fan listening to this podcast, first of all, thank you, and secondly, I'm sorry. Your team sucks, and it's probably going to suck next season. I don't know what else to tell you.
Definitely, they're unfortunately one of those teams that is probably doomed for next season. I think if I'm a Carolina fan,
be some hope in 25-26.
Yeah, if I'm a Carolina fan, this is kind of the logical Carolina fan mindset is our team sucks. We don't have a lot of hope, but I think if we can just see Bryce Young be supported, have a respectable run game, and Bryce just doesn't look so lost and so scared out there, there's hope. But if that doesn't happen this season, it's gonna be devastation and feel like a 2-year turnaround on a ongoing rebuild, which is just
it's
just
and
pure
a
pain.
rebuild that's just stopped and started multiple times too.
Yeah,
like, I mean, and look, if I am a Carolina fan, I'm hoping for some improvement. You can improve, they can improve and still suck. They can even improve a lot and still suck because they sucked so bad this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And the crazy thing too is that I think Canales, as he should, a new coach should get in there and try to win because the division has major problems and there's nobody that really stands out as being great. They're going to feel like they have a chance to win this division. And NFL's crazy. A couple guys talking on YouTube isn't gospel.
no,
Could switch very fast. So
there are 32 teams every incoming NFL season, usually in August and September, that feel like they have a chance.
Yeah.
And about 10 to 15 of those teams are drinking the Delulu juice, and they're going to find out about 4 to 5 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
This is one of those teams.
And then at the end of the season, they're going to find out that Patrick Mahomes is too good. So
it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. Have we even talked? Wait, to close things out, because I don't want to talk about Carolina anymore.
Yeah.
Close things out. Have we actually? I know that like you and I have kind of talked about it, but have we really discussed the fact that like Patrick Mahomes is inevitable?
No, and I think that we're at that point now where you're right. He's undeniable. He is the second coming of Brady. Period. There's nothing else to say.
He's better.
Now we just need to.
He's better.
He has some better things for sure.
Let him better.
Let him get to 6, 7 actually before he's better.
I feel like I'm going to get crushed in the comments for that, and I want to clarify myself quickly when I say that. Brady didn't have this peak of ability. Brady didn't have this athleticism or ability to do the things that Mahomes is doing. And for a good portion of Brady's career, I would say that he had good regular seasons, not great regular seasons. And he just kind of made it happen in the playoffs. He is not greater than Tom Brady because greatness is a measure of your accomplishments and not your ability. So when I say he's better, I'm saying that he can reach a peak that I don't think Brady can really mess with. Like, I think that it's arguable when you can say, like, you take a freeze frame of any quarterback at their peak, like, who is the best of those guys? You can shuffle names around. I don't think it's a slam dunk Brady. You can't debate who is the greatest because he is the most accomplished quarterback by far in a sport that surrounds the quarterback. So I wanted to get that out there before, people started fucking telling me, like, oh, it's like 3's more than 7, freaking idiot.
Patriots. Okay, so the last thing I really want to say is just, man, you're going to disagree with me on this because I know you're a buddy of his, but don't like Travis Kelce. It's not a fan.
I mean, dude, I feel like that's just because you don't like Taylor Swift. I don't think he really bothered you up
really
until
true.
like the last 7 months.
I'm very indifferent about Taylor Swift. I didn't like that the NFL season revolved around her in a lot of ways, but
she was on the screen during the Super Bowl for like a minute.
Yeah, they didn't show her much, thank God.
Yeah, it was like 1 minute of screen time.
I was happy that they didn't make it about her. But throughout the rest of the season they did. And really, it's not about any of that except for, bro, yeah, your head has gotten so big that you think that you can just go and fucking bump your head coach, yell in his face at the Super Bowl. You freaking slammed into a freaking overweight 60-something-year-old man. That's your head coach. Like, so unacceptable, man.
You
I'm
don't
sorry.
think that that's just a product of being jacked up and juiced up? Because I hear what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. It's just like,
Go yell at your boss in his face and bump him or her. See what happens.
dude, I work a shitty office job with a bunch of other pussies. Like, that's completely different. That's a completely different scenario than like a sport of like pure like anger and hatred.
But at least you
testosterone.
don't work at Initech.
No, well, sometimes it feels like I do. What's up, peeps? Nah, dude, like I definitely hear where you're coming from, and it definitely felt inappropriate at the time, but like,
It is inappropriate. It's not feeling inappropriate at times.
my thought process on all of that is a couple things. Number one,
like I said, butt buddies. Okay.
No, because there's two sides to every argument, dude. Like, it is possible to look at things from a couple different points of view. Like, these guys have been together a long time. You know, they've been doing this type of thing for a while. I don't think he's had any other coach actually in however many years it's been, 7 years, 8 years, however long of a scenario it's been out there. It is an extremely high intensity game. He didn't get benched. Andy Reid didn't make a big deal about it, at least not publicly, nor, did it seem like he was like super butthurt or whatever on the sidelines. Did he come in like way fucking aggro in that scenario? Yes. I don't feel like if he had a second to really think about it, I don't think he would have done that. But I think that we've had scenarios in our lives where we've acted a little more aggro than we probably intended. And if we had cameras on us 24/7, it would look like a bad look. I guess that's just my little like advocacy in that regard, for a player that I won't have again this year. But I did like.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fantasy aside for me. We'll get to the Chiefs, but I don't have to like Travis Kelce, and I don't. So with that, that's been the post-mortem / projection for 2024.
The post-mortem, I think, is a current mortem for Carolina.
They're dead, and they're
still dead.
Yeah. Yep. He's still dead. So wrapping that one up, and we're doing Atlanta next. So get ready for some juicy rumors.
ATL. Later, peeps.
Yeah. All right. Peace.